Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to be with you today. It's great to, one of my favorite time of the year, the summer series. We do a little bit of an extended series, and this summer, we've been in a series called Uncommon Sense. And the big idea of the series is, the truth is, common sense is increasingly uncommon in our world today. How many agree with me? You listen to what people say and you go, that's the dumbest thing. And that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. I love you, Jesus loves you, but he'd love you more if you'd stop being so stupid. And actually, that's not biblically true, but you know what I mean. And few books in the Bible really address common sense more broadly on more topics and in a more pithy and thoughtful method than the book of Proverbs. The book of Proverbs in the Old Testament, written not exclusively, but predominantly by Israel's third king, Solomon, King David's son. And it provides so much wisdom for everyday areas of life we face. Proverbs are so practical. And so far, we've looked at pursuing wisdom. That was Pastor Brian Pawlowski. Then we looked at what Proverbs says about living right, and that was Pastor Brian. We have two Pastor Brians. You could say Pawlowski or Rathbun, or you could say the hair and the no hair Brian. So either way. And then we had Pastor Frank do practicing kindness, and that kind of set the tone for Love Week, what Proverbs says about practicing kindness. And then Pastor Nate, can you believe he's 23 years old? And I wasn't that mature till I was 43. So, and he talked about what Proverbs says about speaking words of life. Today I want to look at one of the biggest enemies of living a full, meaningful, accomplishing life. And it's a theme that's prevalent in Proverbs. You know what it is? It's procrastination. It's procrastination. You saw the definition. Let me repeat it for you again in the slide. Procrastination is the act of voluntarily delaying or postponing tasks or decisions despite knowing that doing so may have negative consequences. I say may, they almost always do. And the amazing thing about procrastination to me is that even when people know procrastination will cause damage, long-term lasting consequences that are negative, they do it anyway. They do it anyway. And if there's one word that is the ally, the friend, the enabling power of procrastination, you know what the word is? Someday. Right? Someday. It's the mushy, wishy-washy, excuse-making, false comforting way of thinking that tells us the lie that life will just happen to me. Better things will just happen. I'll just wake up and one day everything will be good. It's a magic wand, pixie dust, helium balloons, everything. I don't know what that has to do with what I just said, but all these different things will happen and everything will just be fine. I'll just wait for someday. I don't have to strive, don't have to toil, don't have to work, don't have to put strategic effort into my life. Somehow it's just gonna fall into my lap. So we think, someday, someday, someday. Someday my opportunity will come. Someday my lucky break will appear. Someday my dreams will come true. Someday I'll start waking up earlier. Someday I'll start working harder. Someday I'll get a promotion. Someday I'll find the right person to marry to motivate me. Imagine that. Someday I'll land the right job. Someday my marriage will thrive. Someday my kids will be better disciplined. Someday I'll win the lottery. I don't know about that. Don't bet in the lottery. I just stuck that in for humor. Didn't work, but I tried. Someday I'll take God. Someday I'll take Christianity. Someday I'll take church attendance more seriously. Someday I'll take Christian growth, my growth in my faith more seriously. Someday it's gonna happen. You watch. It's gonna happen someday. And procrastination is always doomed to fail because someday is the wrong focus in life. And if you get one thing, get this big idea. Procrastination's best friend is someday. Accomplishment, achievement, a meaningful life's best friend is what? today. Today. So let's look at what the book of Proverbs says about putting off procrastination. Did you like that title? Putting off procrastination. Procrastinating your procrastination, which cancels out double negative, which means you're going to do it. That's what I think. Anyway, take your notes out, open to Proverbs 24:30 to 34. Now, before we jump in, when you read Proverbs, and I don't know if I've been on July break doing some work from home and on vacation. I encourage you to read the book of Proverbs. I'm not sure if we've done that in this series, but I encourage you to read it. It's 31 chapters. You can read it one chapter a day in a month. But the word procrastination doesn't really appear in Proverbs per se, maybe in certain translations, but you'll find synonyms. And the words used for procrastinators are these: the sluggard. How about that? The lazy or the lazy person. The one who lacks judgment or the one who lacks discipline. Procrastinators have very little discipline. So notice this extended description of a procrastinator. These 5 verses really tell it all. Look at what it says. The author of Proverbs says, I went past the field of the sluggard. There's one of those words for the procrastinator. Past the vineyard of the man who lacks judgment. There's another synonym for the procrastinator. Thorns had come up everywhere. The ground was covered in weeds, and the stone wall was in ruins. So obviously, the consequences of procrastination were replete and negative and easy to see. I like this next sentence. I applied my heart to what I observed and learned a lesson from what I saw. What a theme verse for Proverbs. What is Proverbs? Proverbs are Solomon and others observing life and doing what this verse says. Applied my heart to what I observed and learned a lesson from what I saw. Proverbs is a series of lessons from what people learned and have seen in the life of themselves and in others. Proverbs was written predominantly by Solomon. He did some amazingly wise things. He did some of the most butt-stupid things ever as well. And look at what he says. This is what I observed. A little sleep, a little slumber. Sleep, slumber must be like the idea of you're not asleep, but you're on the hammock life. A little folding of the hands to rest. To rest from what? Your slumber? And poverty will come on you like a bandit, like an armed man. Your life will be stolen from you when you procrastinate, if you engage in it long enough. It leads to decay. It leads to death. It leads to destruction. It leads to destitution. So how does procrastination work in life? Let me talk about the problems with procrastinators. So as I read through the book of Proverbs and read through the whole thing, I said, what does Proverbs say on procrastination? I found it said a number of things, and I found, at least from my way of thinking, a progression in procrastination laid out in the book of Proverbs. So the first thing that procrastinators do is procrastinators lack self-initiative. This is obvious. Look at Proverbs 6:9. How long will you lie there, you procrastinator? No, you sluggard. Boy, how should that be called a sluggard? That's a brutal word. When will you get up from your sleep? Procrastinators don't do things on their own. They need others to tell them what to do. Johnny, you need to get up. It's 11:30. And direct them. And even when they're told, they resist. You know why? Because the sluggard, the procrastinator, loves the pajama life. They love it. I've known many people like this. I've hired people like this. They're not on staff, and it's been a long time, and you wouldn't know them. I've even seen them in church work. One time, I just want to be vague about this on purpose. One time we worked with a person many, many years ago on a ministry endeavor together. And so I coached the person through their endeavor, and it was a formal coaching agreement, contract, everything. And I could not get the person to do what I asked. If I asked him to do something easy, he would do it. But if I asked him to do something hard, he would come back. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. He would say things, I don't even want to get into what he would say things that were first-class manipulative. He would not do it. And so I said, well, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm mean. I can be. Maybe I'm bossy. Maybe, that's not. But anyway, so it could have been me. So I said, well, let's go to the elders and let's talk about it with the elder team. Maybe I'm just missing the mark. So we met and we probed at why his church was not willing to accept our coaching and follow through on agreed items. And this is what he told us. He says, when we agreed and I came and I told you a need where we needed help, I thought all I would have to do is tell you about a need and then you'd meet it. And he said this, sort of like pushing a button on a computer. So I guess I misnamed our church. LCC, it stood for Laptop Community Church. Just push a button. And it was obvious that they didn't want to do the work. And I think, needless to say, the church is dead and buried. Whenever you go with the flow, you end up downstream. And you never accomplish anything good. You ever hear, he who hesitates is lost? That's true. Here's another one. He who hesitates is last. The next stage after that is procrastinators make lame excuses. They have the best excuses, better than golfers that shoot 95 and higher. The sluggard says, there's a lion outside. I will be murdered in the streets. Now, this is an example of some of the, in Proverbs, some of the rhetorical, even I don't know if it's snarky is the right word, but kind of edgy and over the top statements. Of course, what's the odds of that? Now, I know there was a mountain lion in Pittsburgh this summer, right? And my neighbor said, oh, look what I saw in my front yard. And he photoshopped that mountain lion on my front yard. I'm like, come on, dog. I knew it was Photoshop. But what's the odds of that? Slim and Nunn and Slim was seen leaving town. So the bigger the procrastinator, how many know this is true? The bigger the excuses. Bigger the excuses. I had a rough childhood. My dad never told me he loved me. Life is hard for me. My car, my boyfriend, my finances, I need lots of sleep, my neighbors, blah, 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 blah. I know I ought to, I know I ought to, I know I ought to. You know what the problem with procrastination is? It's a hardening of the arteries. You missed me, didn't you? You missed me. I could tell, I see it all over you. There's a third stage of procrastination that follows laziness and excuses. It's procrastinators justify being lazy. So excuses are, this is why you didn't do it. But the next stage is then you start justifying yourself, not just your behavior, but you. Look at Proverbs 26:16. The sluggard is wiser in his own eyes than 7 men who answer discreetly. People who answer discreetly are wise. They know how to customize their answer to answer their question, the question of people and the response of people in a discreet way is to be wise. So in other words, the sluggard justifies his laziness. He thinks he's smarter than the most successful, hardworking people. The procrastinators are the biggest armchair quarterbacks. You know what that is, armchair quarterback? They know everything, right? They know more than Josh Allen about how to play quarterback, right? They know everything. Josh, my guy, I like Josh. I wish he was with the Saints. I'm just being honest. And he's a great guy. You can't hate him. You want to hate him, but you can't. He's such a great guy. They lie to themselves to justify their laziness. They're in such self-denial that they refuse to see procrastination in their own life. They choose to make it a blind spot. Sometimes we have blind spots and you go, thank you. I didn't know that about me. That's not the procrastinator. They know it about them. Doesn't matter. They even get really defensive sometimes. and they continue their lazy lifestyle. It's like the boy who was at the chalkboard. Teacher was telling him he could be better, and he got frustrated. He turned around and looked at her and says, "I'm not an underachiever. You're an over-expector." And it's just, so stage 1, lack initiative. Stage 2, you make lame excuses. Stage 3, you justify your laziness. And then the final stage kicks in. Procrastinators give up easily. They quit frequently. They're quitters. Another dripping with sarcasm description of the procrastinator in Proverbs 19:24. The sluggard buries his hand in his dish. He will not even bring it to his mouth. I mean, he's so lazy, he won't even eat dinner. Like, oh, I'm so hungry. Oh, there he is with the bread. You know. They quit before they even start. And the few times they're willing to start, they rarely finish. Never forget that procrastination only makes things tougher and worse and more difficult in the long run. It's pretty depressing, isn't it? Now, many of us probably been thinking, oh man, I wish my Uncle Eddie could have been here. You know, Mary needed to be here. Sue needed to be, well, she's here, but you know, the other Sue. And you're thinking of all these people, yeah. And if we had a cassette tape or 8-track or CD ministry, you would have got the message and you'd send it to them. You're going to send them the MP3. You need to listen to this. I think God will speak to you, et cetera, et cetera. But here's the truth. There's at least a little bit of procrastinator in all of us. See, the motto of procrastinators is this: why put off until tomorrow what I could put off even longer? Because to a procrastinator, one of these days really means none of these days. Why do we procrastinate? I was doing some research and I found a great article by Dr. Kendra Cherry, author of the Everything Psychology book. And here's some of the rationalizations we use even when we procrastinate to justify our behavior. Ready? Here's a list she came up with. Not knowing what needs to be done, not knowing how to do something, not wanting to do something, not caring if it gets done or not caring when something gets done, not feeling in the mood to do it, being in the habit of waiting until the last minute. I see some elbow shots go, okay. Believing that you work better under pressure. Oh yeah. Thinking that you can finish it at the last minute, lacking the initiative to get started, forgetting, blaming sickness or poor health, waiting for the right moment, needing time to think about the task, delaying one task in favor of working on another. See, the truth is there's a procrastinator in all of us. There was some research done on college students, pretty much typical of the American population, I would think by and large. And almost every single college student admitted to some level of procrastination. 75% of college students said, yeah, it happens in my life. 50% of college students said, procrastination is killing my life. So half of us probably really, really struggle with procrastination in some areas of life. And so here's how I put it. Most of us are what I would call selective procrastinators. Like 90% of our life, man, we're in order. We got our ducks in a row. You know, we're good at night. But then there's this sliver of our life that's like, oh, I procrastinate. And as I read through Proverbs, I just gave you some references. You could see this relationally. There are certain people, certain relationships, you just put it off. It just doesn't come easy. You delay ending a relationship that needed to be ended, or you delay engaging a relationship, whatever it is. Or physically, there's no motivation to take care of yourself. I've been struggling with back stuff. I tried to play in a golf scramble Friday. I'm going to try to play in a golf scramble Monday. And man, it stinks. So I'm trying this new technique to work my back. If you got some techniques, let me know. Man, I'm telling you, it's like, I give up. You have to get down in a full squat position, which is hard for most adults. And they said in 30 days, I'll be better. And if you struggle with procrastination of physical equipment and you wonder if you do, ask yourself this question. What is that Peloton doing in my basement? All right, so anyway, another one, financially, a lot on that. Money doesn't go to the right places. Money isn't used the right way. You don't help the less fortunate. You don't have a careful budget plan for your own life. Rarely give anything to God, and when you do, it's trivial. And I'm not talking about pre-Christians. I'm talking about people who know Christ. Or at work, a lot of that. Of course, that's one of the biggest ones. Work is no fun, and it shows. Everybody knows you hate work, and you can't find a job that motivates you. And watch this. There's another one. In Proverbs, you even see spiritual procrastinators. Someday I'll read the Bible every day. Someday I'll go to church every week. Someday I'll get involved in a small group. They're starting this fall. This is your golden opportunity. Someday I'll be involved in a ministry team. Someday I'll become a Christian. Someday I'll get baptized like Jesus. You know, I say this as an exhortation for you to consider. We probably have 50 to 75 people at this church here are Christians who haven't been baptized. And Jesus did not suggest baptism. He commanded it. And it's something to consider. And it may be a procrastination thing in your life. Trust God. It's one of the greatest days of your life. Again, many areas are good in our life, but we just have a certain part or parts of our life, a small part that, man, And you know what procrastination is? It's the devil's chloroform. It kills you slowly, stealthily, sneakily. So what's the solution? To put off procrastination, you must replace it with initiation. To put off procrastination, you need to engage in initiation. If the best friend of procrastination is someday, the best friend of initiation is what? Today. We have to learn to become initiators. We have to learn to take the first steps. The hardest steps to take in any journey are the first steps. When you don't feel like cutting your yard, the hardest thing, go to the shed, unlock it, and pull the cord. Once you pull it, you're good. At least I am. We have to replace someday with let's get it started, let's get initiation, let's go today. So I want to teach you with the rest of my time 3 learnable traits that initiators engage in. I believe based on the book of Proverbs and the Bible that we can all win over procrastination. And if you do these 3 things, and there's somewhat of an order to them, but you do these 3 things, in the 10% of your life, I'm assuming you're here, look, I'm assuming you got the 90% of life down really well. In that 10% of your life, you'll be whittling it down to 9, 8, 7, smaller. Here's the first. The first is to become an initiator and not a procrastinator, you must understand motivation. And here's how it works. You must find out what makes you tick inside. How many know that what motivates me may not motivate you, and what motivates you may not motivate you, and what motivates you know what I mean? How many know we all are motivated in different ways, not even by different things, of course, but in different ways. Like, I get motivated when people say I can't do something. That really ticks me off. And I say, okay, you watch, and we all have it. The key to motivation is knowing what motivates you. We're all motivated by some things, and we need to find out what they are so we can replace procrastination with initiation. Look at Proverbs 16:26. The appetite of the laborers works for them. So what motivates the laborer here? It's the easy question. There's only one word. Appetite. The appetite of the laborer drives them, motivates them. So what makes you motivated to work? Like eating food. And then he goes on, and it's a parallel proverb. Remember, there's different constructions. Parallel proverb says the same thing, 2 different ways. Their hunger drives them on. So It has the idea. Now, what motivates the laborer to work is his appetite or his hunger. And because he likes to eat, it drives him. But here's what I believe. Proverbs are not something very shallow, read it, oh, I got it. Proverbs are designed to get you to contemplate, to think. And I do not for a minute think all he's talking about is, I want to work so I can go to McDonald's and get a Big Mac. I don't think that's exactly what, I think that's part of it. But I think what he's saying is, your hunger for what work does in your life drives you. If it's in sports, you practice hard because your hunger to be the state champ, right, drives you. It motivates you. If you procrastinate in some area of your life, you have to find some motivation to overcome it. If it's relational procrastination, you got to find whatever it is that will get you to be motivated. If it's physical procrastination, you have to find out what it is that gets you motivated. And our motivations are all different. Here's a few. We need to reflect deeply on what motivates. Here's a few. Some of us are motivated by goals. That's me, for sure. Some of us are motivated by security. Like, if I can just be secure, I would do that. Some of us are motivated by relief. Man, if I could just get relief from this. Some of us are motivated by advancement. Whatever it is, understand your motivations. Look at Proverbs 6:6-8. Go to the ant, you sluggard. Ants are fascinating, aren't they? Consider its ways. Think about the ant. See the thoughtfulness in Proverbs that you can't ever stop. You can't overthink. You can't think deep enough about a proverb. And be what? Wise, which is Proverbs all about wisdom. Then he goes on to explain the ant to the sluggard. It has no commander, no overseer, or ruler. In other words, nobody saying, get going, get going, get going. Up 2, 3, 4, left, right, left, right. Yet it stores its provisions in the summer and gathers its food at harvest. It has no external motivations. It only has an internal motivation that says, I want a goal, I want achievement, I want to eat. So it gathers its food in the summer or stores its provisions in the summer and gathers them in the harvest. You have to find out what makes you tick. What gets you excited? Ask your friends, what do you get excited about? Well, I get excited about this, that, and then think about why that gets you excited, and I bet you it'll come right back and you'll say, this is what motivates me. Ernest Newman wrote these words. I found them to be very interesting. He said, the great composer doesn't set to work because he's inspired. He becomes inspired because he's working. Beethoven, Bach, and Mozart wrote music with the regularity that an accountant uses figures and numbers. They didn't waste time waiting for inspiration. In other words, they had an internal motivation that got them to do what they did, and then they found inspiration in the doing of it. The inspiration didn't get them to do it, their motivations did. But their inspiration came from their motivation. So if you wait until you're inspired, you'll be a procrastinator. You need to have that internal motivation. Do you know what motivates you? Find it, tap into it, dig into it. This is how God made you. Find what makes you tick. God made you you. He made you tick a certain way, different than me, and find it. I know what motivates me. Once you tap into what motivates you, the second thing you need is diligence. You need to focus on the rewards that lie ahead. See, motivation is important for getting started, but you need diligence to keep going as well. What is diligence? I looked this up, simple definition. Diligence is the practice of engaging in careful and persistent effort. The practice of engaging in careful and persistent effort. Just putting one foot in front of the next and just being persistent, diligent. Proverbs has a lot to say about diligence. Look at Proverbs 13:4. The soul of the sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the soul of the diligent is made fat. Now, when you're my age, fat is not a good word. I mean, I have to get rid of shirts because it's like, if I wear this shirt, somebody asks me how many months pregnant I am. I mean, I just cannot. But the fat is the idea of like blessing. It's like the diligent is blessed. Fat is extra. And extra here is not good. But extra in other areas of life is really good. So this is a contrastive proverb. The first half is in contrast to the second half. Sluggards or procrastinators want and never get, while diligent people persist and press on, and they have abundance, plenty of abundance. Here's another one, another contrastive proverb on diligence. Diligent hands will what? Rule. But laziness, that's the procrastinator, ends in forced labor. When you're diligent, you'll rule your life. When you're a procrastinator, someone else will. We get to choose how we want to live. And so here's the key. Focus on the reward ahead if you want diligence. Motivation, you got to find out what makes you tick. Diligence, you got to focus on the reward ahead. I don't care what your motivation is. When you focus, whatever, the rewards will be different because we're all different people. If you focus on the reward of persistence and diligence, you'll be diligent. If you lose sight of the reward, you won't be diligent. I cut my yard because I cut the whole thing by hand yesterday. Like, just I wanted to get a good workout in because I love having my house look nice. I handwrite all. I mean, if you come, I'll show you. I handwrite all my messages, every single word, and I hate writing, but I hate garbage messages too, and I need to do it. Because I have to do it because I have to please the living God. I love you, but my first goal, I got to have a message that pleases the Lord. But second, I want to help you. Of course, I'm selfish. I want to look good, whatever. And I work hard because I love the rewards of it. In 1952, there was a very brave and strong young lady who named Florence Chadwick. She was determined to break a swimming record. At that time in 1952, no woman had ever crossed the channel between the Catalina Islands and the California coast. She wasn't new to long distance swimming. Florence was a seasoned competitor. She was the first woman to swim the English Channel in both directions. But from Catalina to the California coast, the swim was 26 miles. 26 miles, and she was going to swim it in a day. And so she gets up, and this July morning, it was very foggy, so she gets up, she starts swimming. The water was really, really cold, and there was a blanket of fog. So she settles in. As she's swimming, there's sharks all around her. And she had a team. You were allowed, as long as they don't create a wake, you were allowed to swim alongside for the record. And they had to fend off the sharks. So she has this on her mind. They're cheering her on. Go, Florence, you could do it, you could do it, you could do it. But it's foggy, it's really foggy. The water's cold, the sharks. She was swimming for 15 hours. And she couldn't see the shoreline. She was discouraged. She was mentally worn out. She was tired. She took her last stroke, and she says, I quit. So she gets in the boat. The whole family consoles her. Florence, there's nothing to be ashamed about. Look at what you did. It's amazing. You know what happened? She got in the boat. They broke through the fog really quickly. And they realized they were only half a mile away from the shore. Can you imagine if she saw the shore a half a mile away? How many know she would have done it? It has a happy ending because guess what? She tried it again and succeeded. Now let's hear it for Florence. Here's the point. Don't take your eyes off the reward ahead. When you feel like giving up and you feel like procrastinating, remember the reward. Keep your eyes on the prize. It will draw you like a spiritual magnet when you put your hand to the task. Do you know your rewards? Do you know what you'll get if you persist? I know this. I like to do things for earthly rewards. I do. But even more, I like to do things for eternal rewards. And that leads to my final point on how to go from procrastination to initiation, and it's this. It's direction. And that's what I mean by that. You need to find direction in your life by fearing God and embracing his wisdom. As a Christian, I know this. I don't like to displease the Lord. Sadly, at times, I do. I wish I never would, but I do. But thanks to his Holy Spirit who lives in me, the Holy Spirit lives in every Christian, by the way, I'm able to trust God's direction, even when it doesn't make sense. We're going to end the series on that, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. I'll end the series with that famous verse. I'm able to trust God's direction. I'm able to embrace his wisdom because I know this to be 100% true. God is always right. It doesn't matter if it's hard, doesn't matter if it makes sense, doesn't matter if the world applauds it, it doesn't matter what anybody says. You have to learn to live for an audience of one. And you need to focus on what pleases the Lord. I wish I had it in here, but there's a verse that says, when a man's ways please the Lord, I think it's Proverbs 16:7, when a man's ways please the Lord, he causes even his enemies to be at peace with him. That's a good one. So I overcome procrastination by initiating my reverence for God. Look at Proverbs 1:7. This is probably the theme verse of the whole book of Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and discipline. The fear of the Lord. What is the fear of the Lord? It does not mean, although if you stand before God, you fall flat. Isaiah did, John did. So everybody stand before. But what it means is to be in awe and reverence of the splendor and magnificence and majesty and holiness of God. The fear of God that way is the beginning of knowledge. In other words, if you think you got life figured out and God's not the center of all that you do, you're not even at the beginning. You think you are. You have a nice suit. You live in a nice home. You have letters after your name. But if the fear of God isn't at the beginning, you're not at the beginning. That's what it says. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. But fools despise wisdom and discipline. Sometimes I want to put off what I know I need to do. But when I overcome it by fearing God and embracing his truth in the Bible for the direction of my life. How about you? Is God the one you ultimately follow? Is Jesus Christ Lord? Lord means director. Is Jesus Christ the Lord or the director of your life? I know this. There are some people who are Christians. They're going to heaven. But I gotta be honest, they don't live like Jesus Christ is Lord of their life. It's sad. I know this, it's only because Jesus Christ took initiative to come to earth as God and man, to live a sinless, impeccable, perfect life, to die on a cross for all of my sins and rise from the grave 3 days later to prove that all he said is true, that I am who I am in my most positive sense. It's because of that. Any goals, any overcoming of procrastination began in my life when I began to fear God. I love to do the right thing because it's right. Can I be honest with you? Sometimes I do the right things because I fear God, and that's it. Are you procrastinating and seeking God in your life? If you're not sure you're a Christian yet, are you procrastinating that process? If you are a Christian, are you living on the fence? Are you living a watered down, compromised, bare minimum? If that, what do I have to do? The mature Christian doesn't say, what do I have to do? The mature Christian says, there's so much more to do for God. Not this minimalism, maximalism. And my hope is that this helps you put off procrastination. So I'll end with these couple words. I want to ask you to sign up for a club today. You ready for it? It's called the TNT Club. Okay? You sign up, you and God. Ready? It's today, not tomorrow. How many are willing to sign up for the TNT Club? All right, some of you are going to think about it. All right. And I want you to live every day as if it's your last. You know why? Because one day it will be. So let's bow our heads. And what is it in your life? Don't worry about Uncle Eddie. What is it in your life that you just start procrastinating on? You haven't even tried. If you try and it doesn't work, that's not procrastination. What part of your life do you need to get motivated in? What part of your life do you need to build on that motivation and be more diligent in? What part of your life do you need direction? The direction that God will provide you through Jesus Christ. He loves you. You heard that earlier from Heather and the music team, how much he loves you, what he's done for you. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Whatever you're procrastinating, maybe you've got a list of things. Here's my advice. Just pick one. Just pick the biggest one. And just say, let me work on this. Let me see what motivation I can tap into. Let's see what diligence and see what God has to say. And if you've never trusted Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, don't procrastinate another moment. Stop going, I need to think about it some more. Stop saying, I've got time. Start saying, Jesus, I know you want me in your family. And I'm ready. Say, Jesus Christ, I believe that you're God. I believe you died for all of my sins. The ones in the past, the ones I'm engaged in right now, the ones I'll commit in the future. You shed your blood to cleanse me from that. That's an amazing thought. How can blood cleanse? Christ's blood is so valuable that it can. I believe in you. I receive you into my life by faith. And here's the key word, alone. Not faith in religion, not faith in being a good person. That doesn't do you any good. Just trusting that Christ paid everything. Just say it to him. Jesus, I need you in my life on those terms. Come into my life by faith. Just tell him. Father, help us all be better at putting off procrastination in our life. In Jesus' name, amen. Hey, before I let you go, if you committed your life to Christ, it's the greatest decision. Those watching online or those here, please let us know about it. Grab the Connect card, finish it, give it to me, go to next steps. Just let us know about it. We want to support you, help you grow. Thank you so much for being a great congregation. You're amazing people. There'll be people up here to pray if you'd like to pray after the service. And if you need help, need direction, Next Steps is right there. I will be right next to Next Steps once I work my way out. Especially if you're new here, I'd love to meet you. I love you guys. I hope you have a great afternoon. Thanks.